Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. Welcome, happy Wednesday. Today we have a very special guest, a special Facebook Live today. We're talking with Lily McNamara from the Twin Cities, from Minneapolis, Minnesota. She's a holistic practitioner, Reiki expert, psychic medium. She does a lot of healing and energy work too. And today we're going to talk about releasing past life karma. So letting go of old baggage from past lives that are holding you back from moving forward in your current life and achieving the goals that you want to achieve here in the now and the present. So we'll talk about that today. Everyone jumping on, say hello. Feel free to ask questions as we go along. I'll be keeping an eye on the chat box with the comments, and I'll be asking your questions to Lily too. If you're watching the replay, just write hashtag replay in the comments so that we know that you saw it and we know that it resonates with you. So without further ado, Lily, how are you?
I am doing wonderful. How are you?
Good. This is going to be an exciting topic today. Because we talk about it in some of my classes from a practical standpoint, from changing the underlying beliefs, right? Changing the mindset work, changing the energy. But this, I feel like, goes a little bit more in depth, right? Because we're carrying things from past lives that we may not be aware of, right? On a conscious level. So I'll just let you take it away. I think that everyone here in the group knows what the word karma means, but not everyone may be familiar with past life work, and we may have a lot of different religions here in the group as well. So I'll just let you kind of briefly explain, just kind of lay the foundation for a minute, what past lives are, what karma is, and how that all ties into our present life in this lifetime here in the now.
Definitely. Thank you so much for having me. And actually, the past lives topic was brought up as an inspiration by Jana because of the work that you do. And it overlaps so much, you're right, with past lives, that it's when people get stuck, it's like, well, I don't know what to do. It's like, well, it might not be from this life. It might be from a past life that you need to work on too. So karma is basically you reap what you sow in this life and in past lives. And that can have to do with it's not like in the movies where, oh, you were evil in a past life, so this life you're like beaten with a stick. No, it's you take energy with you, you take patterns with you, and they show up in really subtle ways, or else they show up like really abundantly for some people. And with past lives, every soul has many. It just is a matter of how many. No one comes in this life and it's like, it's my first. No, we're all old at this point. And so you take things, and it's not like you take everything from one past life and bring it with you. It's certain things from different past lives that come with you down through centuries even. And it's always fascinating to see how people utilize that or how it holds them back. And taking it with you can really hinder your success, but it can also help you. And so this little talk is a lot about what characteristics and how can you make them work for you? Because a negative may not be a negative from a past life. You just need to make it work for you, type thing.
Right. That's a good point. Yeah, it can be a lesson. It can be an opportunity to your advantage. That's a great point. Mm-hmm.
And it's a mindset. Like I have one example from my personal life is I was always like really squeamish around business, which is hilarious being a business owner. You don't get to be squeamish, and I couldn't handle it. And everyone always critiqued me of how I looked at business, because I look at business like prostitution, and that makes me very comfortable. And I'm like, oh yeah, if I go, I don't say, oh, I'm networking, I do sales. I'm like, I'm gonna go and whore myself out. Yes. And it sounds so, people are like, oh my God, that's so awful. And it's like, nope, I was a madam in a past life and I had a great business as a madam. So it's comfortable for me. I sit there and I'm like, I have a product. I know my worth. I'm going to go and rock it. Yes. I'm fine with that. But the second I sit there and go, oh, it's networking, I'm like, I can't. So when I started and everyone's like, oh, it's networking, it's sales, I didn't do well at all. I couldn't handle it. I didn't have the stomach for it. And I thought I wasn't going to be good at this. And then I changed my mindset. I was like, oh, that's a theme that I took from my past life. I started changing the way I say it to myself in my head. because how you deal with your past life and karma is no one else's business. Like, other people can be uncomfortable with me pouring it out. I'm not. I sit there and I'm like, yes, because I have a product that I know you want. Let me give it to you.
Right. And
that mindset.
Right. That's so true that you said that it's unique to you. And I think language is unique to us too, right? The words that we choose to use to describe things have a specific meaning towards us, right? So you said the word whoring, right? To someone, that's a bad word. That's to you, it's a word that you use to describe, sales and networking, right? Sales and networking to someone else is an everyday word. To you, it's like, ugh, right? Vomit. So it's just interesting how, like, it's just neurolinguistics, the words that we use to describe things and how we assign a certain meaning to them. Lily, can you talk about, are there any kind of like common, I don't know, traits or signs that you see with people who you're like, yes, that person's carrying a lot of baggage, right? Is there some commonalities that you can just see right off the bat in your work?
So a lot of stuff with past life will go to what's called like vows of poverty. Like, you were poor in a past life, and then your soul is just like, and this is the way it needs to be forever. Like, think of all the peasants and stuff in medieval times who were eating dirt. Like, if you take that with you, that's all you deserve from life to life to life. Now that we're in 21st century, central air, modern plumbing, thank you, God.
Right.
But you take with, I need to be struggling and hard. And as you know, being, the fabulous coach that you are, so many people come in and it's like, it's so hard. And it's like, it doesn't have to be. Are you taking something from a past life that demands your life was hard? Because I hate to break to everyone, but every peasant it was hard. It was hard. And that was your life existence. But you don't need that now. You have modern amenities and resources now. And so having your soul understand that it doesn't need to continue that pattern is really important for, a lot of people. So that's a big one, is the like poverty and struggle that can be, broken. And I notice a lot with people who like go to empowerment coaches and stuff, and they're like, it's just not working. And it's like, well, you're doing everything right in this life, but what from your past life is affecting you still, type thing. And so it's good to look at those. But there are also like strengths. Like, once I changed my wording, it just became so much easier for me to do things and like be charismatic and just, oh yes. Because when I walked in, I was like, hi, I'm Lily. I don't know. Please don't look at me. And now I just walk in and you've seen me walk into rooms sometimes. I'm like, hello. Yes. And everyone's like, you have a lot. And I'm like, yeah, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
So it's embracing stuff.
So it's embracing those personalities from the past lives, would you say? Because when you said you're a madam in a past life, when I think madam, I think, she's in charge, right? When she walks into the room, she's confident and in charge. Everyone sees her, everyone knows she's entered, right? And I think you do carry that personality when you come in the room. You light up the room, everyone knows Lily's here, right? So that's interesting how the personality carries through. So can you give us an example of, you give us your own example of that, where, you can take something that to some people may be negative, right? The madam thing, and take those personality traits, the kind of the positive pieces of that, and bring that forward like you do. How do you do that for some of your clients that you work with? Do you have any, that's a great story, right? A great story to tell, right? But how does that work with your clients when you're in a session with them one-on-one?
So if you come in specifically for past life work, we will do a little bit of psychic work to figure out like, okay, which past life is really getting to you. And then you go into a past life meditation. So past life regression is through hypnosis, and you have to go to a certified hypnotherapist. And so we do deep meditation where we will go into your past life and work on it. And you'll see your life play out kind of like a movie. And so you'll see the points in your life. It's like, oh, that was hard. Oh, that was easy. Oh, this I can take with me and stuff. And then you resolve it in the meditation. And then when you come out, we do like energy work and get it really solid in you and to integrate into your soul and to your energy field in this life, so that you're not taking some of the things that you can't fix, things that you can't make positive. So a big one for me was years ago, I was in tarot training. And I was told I wasn't making money. Like, I was successful. I saw a lot of people, but I didn't make money. And I know you have a great video about like how much should you charge and what you're comfortable with charging. And let me tell you, years ago, I should have watched that. Oh, it was tough. And my tarot trainer was like, okay, you just need to stop. And I was like, what? And they're like, you hate money. It's like, it makes me uncomfortable. And it was in the 1400s. I was a kitchen maid and I stole food to feed my family. And I was caught, and my family and I starved to death. It was miserable. It was horrible. It was awful. But ever since the 1400s, every single life I've had since, I've struggled with money because I viewed money as the thing that killed my family. And I took that with me. And so I'm sitting here going, I'm working my butt off and I am still not making money. And I couldn't figure it out. And I was just told, you need to do some past life work because this is not something that you can fix now. You need to be comfortable with the fact that money is okay. And so I did lots of like energy work and past life regression and stuff to move through it. So that's an example of one that it's like, oh no, this wasn't something I could twist into a positive with my thinking. It was something that needed to be gone. And then ever since then, I've been doing very well, especially at like the Maria Shaw psychic fairs that are in Michigan and Minnesota. Like ever since then, just doing great. And it can really change your energy, not necessarily your mindset when you do a healing, but your energy to attract certain things or to get over it. Because now I'm not uncomfortable with money, where before I thought like money could kill me, because money did kill me in the 1400s. Right. I wasn't for it. And then now I'm like, oh no, money's nice. It buys me things that I like.
That's interesting you say that, the energy around it, because, you know, money has a frequency, right? And so it's just energy. And we talk a lot about the circulation and the attraction piece of that too. So yes, if you carried that belief through those past lives, you know, where money, it was a bad thing, right? Where you would naturally avoid it with your energy, right? You would naturally repel it. And consciously you're like, what the heck? You know, I want to make money, right? I run a business, you know, I need to make more money to support myself and my business grow. I think a lot of people get really frustrated with that. They're like, but I want it. Why isn't it coming? Right? I'm doing all the things. But on a, you know, an energetic level, you know, you carry that with you, right? That you're just repelling it. So there's that disconnect there. Can you talk about, when you talked about, you know, bringing the good things with you and leaving, you said it really great, in a really nice way, leaving what you don't need, right? Are there some things, like you were saying, that are so big that can't be fixed, so to speak? And do you, I think a lot of times people will just try to fix things, right? I got to be fixed. Something's wrong with me. I've got to fix myself, things like that. In your work, how do you approach that with your clients, you know, when they're in that fixer mode? Something's wrong with me. I've got to fix myself. And just helping them to kind of just let go of it, right? And just move forward without having to dig, right? And, you know, spend 20 years in therapy, you know, things like that. Can you talk a little bit about that piece and how you approach that?
The easy answer would be, oh, come to a one-on-one session. But in truth, in that session where you can't get over stuff, it's really honoring what you went through and who you were. So a lot of people have misconceptions and myths and paradigms about past lives, to the point where when I teach like a past life class, part of it is me just being real nasty and being like, okay, here's everything that you might do wrong. Let's sidestep that for a minute, shall we? And it's because people come in and they're like, I was Cleopatra, I was this. And so people come in and they think if they weren't important in a past life, then somehow they're not badass enough in this life. And it's like, no, chances are you were not Abraham Lincoln. You were not Nelson Mandela. Like you weren't. You were plain and normal. You were the kitchen maid. You were the busboy, whatever. But you honor that because those things can give you so much more. And so it's a lot about honoring who you are that people have a hard time with. They're like, oh, or I've had clients who did some really bad things in past lives. And that's, you're coming at it from 2021. 2021, you kill a village, you're a monster and a terrorist.
Right.
If you were a Roman soldier and you helped burn down a village, you were a patriot. You did what you were told. You were honored. You were efficient. And so I always tell people, it's like when you go into a past life, don't judge anything that happens because you may have done things because in the past, homophobia, xenophobia, racism was normal. And there was I'd never be that. In this life now, no, you wouldn't. But in the past life, that was the norm. And you don't hate that about yourself. You just acknowledge it. You just go, I honor the fact that that is the life and that is the time. But guess what? We all smelled and had bad teeth too. It's not like the movies. We don't look like that. We all looked weird and smelled funny. And so people keep thinking that it's like the movies and it's like, no, it's really not. And so when people have big issues, it has a lot to do with those myths that they're just holding on to. It's like, this is what a past life was. It's like, no, you were a toothless beggar, and there's nothing wrong with that. Because in that life, I bet you learned how to survive. I bet you were a scrapper. I bet you no one took that crust of bread from you. Mine, bring it.
You were very, very resourceful. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I think that's interesting how you say that because it's a different culture. It's a different time. So, and like you said, and there's an evolution to human beings, right? We've evolved. So back then something may have been bad or good in the culture. And so you may have had guilt or shame, or you may have been celebrated for that, right? Yep. And then the guilt and the shame, you bring that over into this lifetime for something that now wouldn't necessarily have that negative connotation. So that's really interesting how we're maybe holding on to guilt and shame and things like that. Like you said, we don't really need to be, right? It doesn't apply now. It doesn't help us now. We don't need that now, right?
Yeah, and it's dealing with the karma. I had a client who had cancer, and she tried every Western and Eastern and holistic, and she came to me and she was like, what is going on? So we went into it and we realized that some of it was like past life stuff, and then some of it was karma from like ancestors and family lines. And so when we went into the past life, she did a big no-no in that life. And like something that was not okay. But the thing is that in the past life, it wasn't what she did that was wrong. That was normal. It was who she did it to. She hurt a noble. You don't hurt nobles. They live by a different standard. So it's like if that would have happened to a peasant girl or something, that would have been fine. But you hurt a noble, that's very different. And so that punishment followed through to this life, and she couldn't let it go. And when we went in and figured out like what exactly was going on, she was so upset. And I said, don't be upset. Don't hate yourself for this. It's something that happened. You just acknowledge that it happened. But it's also in that time that was normal. And so remember that that's not now. And again, a lot of people get hung up with that kind of stuff that just makes it so much more difficult to move on, because they're not realizing that like now is not the same as 200, 300, 400 years ago. Right.
And so when people do this work and they do let go of that baggage and they release all of those negative emotions and feelings that they're maybe holding in their body, what are some of the typical things that you see happen once they've done that work with you?
So everyone like vibrates at a different level. Everyone's energy is different. And it's almost like they sync back up to themselves, that they're not being held back anymore. They're not being stalled out anymore. So it makes them just feel really authentic and natural when you're around them, that they're not being held back by something that is kind of artificial. Like as much as it's them and it's part of their experience, it's not something that was meant to be taken with. And so they open up, they relax, and depending upon what it is, like with me with money, now I do well with money. For people who it's like self-esteem, it's like, oh wow, it changes their self-esteem. One woman got murdered in her bakery, and once she let it go, it's like no more gluten-free for her. She was an aversion to baked goods, and I'm like, really? I could go for like a donut, cake, anything with gluten, yum, yum, yum. And, you know, it's that thing that it's like, oh, but in a past life, someone robbed her bakery and killed her. And so she's just like, nope, that's awful. But now it's like, oh, I can be around this and it's not going to like hurt me or anything like that. So a lot of people will just release and like trust more and move forward with their lives instead of being held back.
I was listening to, I think it was a podcast today, and we were talking about, you know, living in the past, right? Allowing the past to kind of be the dominant part of your thoughts, right? And the part of, therefore, your energy, right? And how people want to change their life. You know, they want to, grow their business, make more money, have the relationship, right? Have the healthier body, whatever it is, have the home, etc. And they want this change. They want this transformation in their life. They want this dream life, whatever it is, but they don't make the changes in their thoughts and their energy in order to become that person. I call it the confident you. A lot of people call it ideal self, next level you, your actual self, to step into the shoes of that person who creates that thing, right? It's a whole different, it's you, but it's a different version of you. It's like becoming a different person, but it's still you. And so I think a lot of times people are looking forward or looking at their life and how do I make these changes and how do I do this and do that, whatever, but they're looking at it through the lens of the past, right? Their past experiences, their old belief system that they had. And I think that ties into what you're saying. You know, if you carried through these experiences that you had in past lives and you formed beliefs about those, right? About how things are supposed to go into this lifetime, you're trying to change, you're trying to create your transformation, your dream life, but people feel stuck, right? They feel stuck. They feel like you said, they can't move forward and they get very frustrated. And then they start going into what's wrong with me, right? Or I'm not worthy enough, or I'm not good enough, or I just don't have it, whatever it is, or I'm not lucky enough. And all this self-doubt comes. So it's really interesting how you say moving forward. So many people want to move forward, but they don't understand why they can, but they think they can't. They don't understand why. So I think this work is so important. And what you do in helping them like identify, okay, nothing's wrong with you. You know, you're not broken. You're not fine. You don't need to be fixed. There's just some baggage that you're holding on to, like kind of like when I think of baggage, I think of a big, heavy backpack full of stones, right? Yes. You're trying to run and you're trying to move forward and you're like, why can't I go? And so it's just a matter of releasing, right? And so how do people, you shared the typical results that do you have a specific process that you take them through? How does that work? And how do people work with you in your classes or your one-on-one, or is it a combination of things? How does that all work?
So the big thing about, I have my notes next to me and I'm like touching them because they have the phrase in it. And I'm like, yes, this is important. I
do that too. I have don't let me forget to say this. It's important.
You're right. It can be I mean this very seriously, any intense work is done with a professional. It's done with your psychic, your past life, your hypnotherapist, whatever. You don't do intense work in the class. And the reason is that when we do like past life regression in a group of say 30 people are in the class and then I'm giving the meditation, you go down a hole and I can't go and get you because there are 30 other people who are also going through something. And so in groups, it's like, okay, pick a fluffier life, pick a nice normal life. You died of old age. Yay. That's fine. Type thing. But if you want to deal with the ones where like there was murder or trauma or abuse, it's like you go and see somebody to work through it. Group settings are good for like curiosity and discovering your soul and figuring out some of those positive traits and stuff. But really intense work should be done with somebody, just because we can't stop the whole class and put everyone else in like limbo or in danger of going down the wrong path, also in a meditation, to come and get you out because you just went into a traumatic life even though you were told not to. So there's just very different, like, if you want to learn about past lives and you think it's cool, class. If you want to work on something very serious, you do it with a one-on-one professional, or you can do it yourself if you want to do it yourself through like guided meditation and tapes and self-discovery and stuff. That's fine. But yeah, it's just when people come to a class and they're like, I'm going to do all this intense work in the class. It's like, we can't do that. Like, I'd love to be 30 people just multiply and give you all one-on-one attention, but it's just impossible to do for that kind of thing. And actually, Jana, this is pinging now. Would you mind if I read one of your past lives for everybody?
Yeah, that'd be cool. Okay.
So
let me get to
like, let's do this. So everyone has like positives and negatives. And one of the things that I love about you is that ever since I met you, I just think elegance. I think poise. I think, and I was sitting there and I'm like, I'm getting goosebumps. And it's when I think of you and I realized, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's your past life coming through. In your past life, you were a debutante. I mean, like Jane Austen time, where like there were coming out parties and stuff. And it was always like the elegance, the grace, the poise. And in those times, women had to be a certain kind of intelligence. Like you had to learn pianoforte and read and do needlepoint. And in yours, you could do all that, but you were also extremely intelligent. And so you could actually talk to men. Like you could stand there and talk and they listened. Where most women, it was like, oh, why don't you go back to your needlepoint, honey? But with you, it was like, oh, you had an opinion and you were so intelligent and so poised that people would go, oh, I will listen to you. And so you always had a voice and you were always able to communicate with everybody because you were so respectful and able to do that. So for you, that's a really big positive that you brought with you, that it's like, I've never seen you shrink. I've never seen you put yourself down. I've never seen you walk up to someone and say, I can't talk to this person. I'm not good enough, or I'm not smart enough, or I'm not further enough on my whatever. Walk up to anyone and just say hello. And you just present. And it's never, no one ever questions it. And every time, like I see you do that now, I just envision you in one of those long dresses with the gloves up to here, and you're just walking up, hello. And
I have the gloves in my closet. No, I do. I have a pair of gray winter gloves. I'm not joking, Lily. And they come up to here, and you wear them with the short coat. They're in my closet.
Yes, I love it. So that is something that I really admire about you, that whether you knew it or not, you took something from a past life and you owned it and you brought it here, and it really comes through with the way that you present yourself. And I feel like you benefit from it. Like it's a really big positive for you in your life. And it's just something that you did naturally. Like you didn't have to do work. You just knew that this was part of you, that you are intelligent, that you are poise and grace. And so that's how you deliver yourself. And it's always so very gentle. Because you're not, I'm offensive. I know it. I am crass.
No, you're not.
Blunt. I am outrageous. I am not everyone's cup of tea. But you can talk to anyone just like a debutante. You could have walked up to any man, any woman, any station, and you could have presented perfectly. And I love that about you. I love the fact that that is something that you embody and honor in yourself. So that is part of your past life that I think you rock.
Well, thank you. That's funny because in my chart, Mom did my chart, it does show that I was some sort of royalty. It wasn't like the king and the queen, but very high status. And that's very truly, when I was younger, especially, I could hang with the guys. I had the girlfriends, but I could always hang with the guys and I could always talk with them. and I could match their wit. Men are more sarcastic. They like to jostle each other. They like to joke around. They razz each other. And I could do that. I could do that with them. I could give it right back to them, and I could talk with them in that. But I could also talk with the girls too. Yeah, that's very true. And almost sometimes I felt more comfortable with the guys talking business stuff or real estate. Now I know a lot of women entrepreneurs, so we talk business too. We talk real estate too. But it's a different vibe. Yeah, so that's so true. Yeah, and I watch a lot of those movies where the Victorian era, where they're at the balls and they're dancing and they have all the stuff and they know all they can play the violin and they can do this and do all the. It's like you're prepping for a talent show. You have to have all the talents, right?
Absolutely.
It's so funny.
And I bet you're watching and you're like, I could do that. I could walk into that. You're not sitting there going, oh my God, that looks so intimidating. You're like, I could do it. I could do it.
You can learn anything. I just have the attitude, like you can learn anything. You really could. Nothing's actually hard. Like you said earlier, it's just new. It's just new to you right now. It's not hard. It's just new. Once you do it a few times, you're up to speed, and then you're off to the races, and you do it like you know it like the back of your hand. Yeah,
absolutely.
And I want everyone to have that confidence.
Yes.
I want everyone to know that it's not actually hard. It's just new, that you can do this. It's just a matter of doing the steps and learning it. And then it's your new normal.
Absolutely.
So, that was so cool. I'm gonna see if we have any questions for Lily. If you guys have questions, type them in the comments and I'll read them off to her and she can answer them. I'm just gonna go through real quick. Katina says hi. Renee says hi, girls.
Hi, guys.
Lily, you do light up the room. Rohini. Yeah, that's true. I think when you walk in the room, you light up. Barbie, yes, elegance. Thank you, Barbie. Hope, okay, Hope's on here. Yes, it's not hard. It's just new. After a while, it becomes normal. Yes. If you can just remember that about anything, after a while, it becomes your new normal, right? And I love that we talked about, like you said it earlier, when your clients come in, they're like, it's so hard. Everything's so hard. It's just struggling. You're like, it doesn't have to be, right? Yeah. And I, when we say this to people, it sounds really harsh, and I think sometimes it triggers people, but I'll say things, in a nice way, like you're the one making it hard, right? No one has the power over you. We all have our free will, to determine, you're going to do this, you're not going to do that. No one's holding you back but you, right? No one has that power over you. It's not really, you're the one making this hard. You're the one available for the struggle, right? You're the one subscribing to this struggle train or the struggle bus. And I think that's Lily, you can talk about when you talk to, with your clients, like, isn't that hard for some people to hear sometimes?
Yeah, everyone wants to think that it's an outside force, that it's an energy cord or a curse or pass and all this stuff. And it's like, no. And a lot of it is, like you said, just that resistance. But it's like, you have to honor the whole experience, good, bad, or ugly. Like I said, some people in a past life, chances are you were homophobic, racist, everything like that. And you don't go, yay, but you honor it. It's like, yep, that was part of me back then in a life that was normal. And what I see a lot of the resistance is people just not willing to honor their whole self. So there are everyone has strengths and weaknesses. And it's when people are like, oh no, I don't have a weakness, or they just fixate on the weakness, that just kind of makes the energy grow and perpetuate, where it's like, if you don't do good at networking, but you do good as a madam, view it like, change it to a strength, like make your mindset work for you based on past life and your soul and your karmic energy and everything. That it's like, it doesn't have to be hard. If I would have continued networking and sales, I think I'd be miserable. And I think I was a bad person and I wouldn't have been able to do that. But shifting my mindset, it's like, oh, I'm very comfortable with this. One of my tarot instructors said, you can't earn money. You get so creeped out by it. And I said, okay. She said, make love to money. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll do that. And she's like, Don't view it as a possession. View it as a relationship. This is something you're wooing. And I'm like, oh, I can woo. And I look at it like that. It's like, I will seduce money into my account. Absolutely. But I will not earn money into my account. But changing that just blew my mind how much easier my life is and my business is now that that's what I do. And I'm not fixating on the fact that, oh my God, I can't do networking and I can't do sales. I must be a bad business person. It's like, no, I'm a good business person to do it my way and my style. And so many people don't. And I feel like you really look at people as like a whole person and a soul. And when you work with them, it's not, this is the way to do it. It's like, well, what's your strength? Okay, do that. Like, instead of like, oh, you have to fix everything. You always go, what's your strength? What are you drawn to? What feeds your soul? And that's really what it is. And so I feel like if people understood that and embraced it more, life would be so much easier for so many people.
Yes, doing things from a place of desire. I always tell people, I think people are, like, this is the way business is done. I've got to do it this way. And I'm like, okay, but what's the point of having your own business if it's not you, if you're not having fun, if you're not enjoying it, you just bought yourself a job,
Yes.
And it's like, okay, what do you want to do? What do you like to do? All right, let's do things from a place of desire instead of I should, right? And I love how you're talking about, instead of focusing on the weakness and bringing more energy to that, right? Making that the dominant thought, right? Let's focus on what you do well. Let's focus on your strengths. And this is a little tip that one of my business coaches shared with me. I loved how she put this. If there's one area that you're really struggling in, like for you, it was money. Look at all the other areas that you do really well. For some people, making friends comes easy to them, right? For other people, relationships come easy to them. For some people, exercise and health comes easy to them. And there's usually like one or two categories that they just struggle with. And I'm paraphrasing, but it's like, what you do well in these other areas, apply that kind of energy and methodology to the area that you struggle in, right? We're not really struggling, but they say you're struggling. It's like, whatever you're doing, whatever you're crushing over here, that the way that you think about those things, the way that you feel about those things, apply that to the area that and that's exactly what you did. It was a perfect example. You just applied it to money, and you used different language to describe it, and you used a different perspective and the feeling around it, right? And then it clicked. It worked for you, and you're doing it in your own way, and in what feels good to you, what makes sense to you, what's natural for you. And I think when people do that, everything just flows. Nothing's a struggle anymore. It's light, it's easy, it's fun, it's effortless. And I love that we're not trying to put people into a box and say, this is the way you have to do it. You have to fix yourself. We're not robots. It's about them doing things their way, what feels good to them, right? It's your life, right? No one else is telling you what to do.
Absolutely. Play to your strengths. Like, I do great with people and communication. I have a huge Mercury in Cancer. Like, I talk so much, but I also emotionally connect when I talk. And it's when I first started my business, I wasn't doing it well, but I also worked at a wellness center that was telling me like how to run a holistic business and stuff. And I wasn't good at anything that they said I needed to succeed. And so for 2 years, it just flatlined. I made like barely any money, and I was starting to really panic. And then like I started doing things my way, and people were like paying full price and having referrals and everything like that. And it was because I stopped doing what everyone else told me I should do as a business person. And I think that's really important. As long as you're comfortable with it and you're not hurting yourself or anyone else, like it's not a toxic behavior that's making you successful, like don't pickpocket and think you're successful. Like that's maybe not. But it's
maybe in a past life that was okay, right?
Yes,
I'm just kidding. Not this one. Don't do that.
And it was a thing for me. I had to realize that Because when I started saying, oh, I'm going to whore myself out. And everyone freaked out that I talked to. You can't say that. You are being so negative. You're attracting negativity. And I was like, oh my God, I'm doing that. And then they said, you have to say networking, you have to say sales, you have to. And so I changed everything to fit what they thought was proper and appropriate. And I was miserable. And then I was like, I'm really comfortable with these words though. And so I started using them again, with myself before I go to an event or something like that. Mm-hmm. It's like, yep, I'm not going to go and network. I'm going to go and work. And
right.
It was fine with me. And I realized that I just felt better with it. So with this and with your strengths and everything, don't depend on what someone else tells you. Do from what feels right to you. If someone's uncomfortable with your strength because of a past life attribute or a current life attribute or anything like that, ignore them because it's not theirs. It's not their past life. It's not their energy. They cannot tell you how to do it. It's yours. It's your authentic self. Rock that out however it looks, even if it makes people a little uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Like, you need to do it for you. Like, I will never be successful for Jana. Jana never gonna be successful for me. Mm-hmm. And I'm happy about that. Like, we're both like, we want each other to be successful. We'll raise each other up. Mm-hmm. But my success is never going to depend upon anyone else's opinion. And so I think that's important for people to remember as they're doing their strengths and their past lives. People's judgment can't be a part of this because you won't be as effective if you let other people determine what you're doing.
You can't pay your bills with other people's opinions. Someone said that to me, and I just thought it was the funniest thing.
I love
Isn't that funny? You can't pay your bills.
That.
Let's write that down. You can't pay your bills with other people's opinions. I thought that was hilarious. And so I just want to say this too. It goes back to, you trying to be a second-rate version of someone else never works. It's watered down. It just feels weird. Your energy's funky. Mm-hmm. It's very confusing. When you're just you and you're the best version of yourself, you're constantly evolving, people are drawn to you. They'll come to Lily for her style, right? There's a lot of other healers out there, right? Mm-hmm. But they come to Lily because they feel drawn to her. They feel comfortable with her. They like the way she explains things, the way she talks about, right? And it resonates on a deep level. So they come to Lily, right? There's other healers. Some people are very blunt to the point, people like that. Some people are more like, let's, not wishy-washy, but more gentle. Let's talk about this, right? And some people need that type of person too, right? Mm-hmm. So it's just, again, you being a second-rate version of someone else trying to do those things. Like you said, that company was trying to, say, no, do it this way. Your message is watered down. Your energy's funky. You don't feel good about it. So if you don't feel good about it, the people aren't going to feel good about it, right?
Well, and you also attract for entrepreneurs like us, and I think a lot of the people on watching are entrepreneurs or, something like that. It's also, what is your ideal client? If you're a watered down second-rate version of somebody else, you're attracting their B-list clients, not your No.
Right, yeah.
I realized with doing that, I was getting all these clients that I did not do well with them. I'm like, I don't like you. Like, weren't the type of people that I wanted to work with, but they were the ideal client of the wellness center. And so when I changed it, I'm like, now I love the clients I work with. I love spending time with them and working with them and everything. And so it's be your authentic self so that you can get your ideal client also, because they want to go to you. And if you're acting like somebody else, you're going to get their ideal client, but like the second-rate one. And that's not because the first-rate ones are going to go to the authentic person. And it's just not what you want as a business person, is to not be working with your ideal client,
Right. What's the point? Right. What's the point? You just bought yourself a job that you don't like. Exactly. Yeah. The whole point of this, and is to do the work that you actually want to do, right? Yeah. That lights you up, that gets you out of bed in the morning, your mission, right? And work with the people that you want to work with and make the money that you want to make. Otherwise, what's the point, right?
Yes.
I mean, we're just going through the motion. So I think sometimes people get caught up in, okay, who do I have to be to to get clients, or who do I have to be? Oh, look at her. She's really successful. Well, let me do everything exactly how she does, because that must be the magic formula, right?
Yeah.
And then it just gets wishy-washy and lost. So I think that's so important. Let me jump to the comments real quick. Sorry. We could talk all day. I know you. Shannon, where would we get tapes to do the past life lessons? So, you were talking about your classes, Lily. And she asked about tapes too. So I'll bring up your website real quick. lilyofthelight.com. So you host classes and you do one-on-one sessions as well. So you could take a class or a session with Lily. Do you have any recommendations on tapes for people who maybe want to do it on their own, or maybe more advanced? Mm-hmm.
Actually, that is something that is really weird, because I have it. You can't see because my laptop is facing me, but I have my mic set up to do. I will soon have an online store to sell the meditations that you can do at home. And so that will be on lilyofthelight.com, hopefully in the next month or so, to have.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
And they're going to be medium-sized meditations. So it's doing classes and one-on-one sessions. Obviously, you get more interaction and you can ask questions live to me and stuff like that, where a tape, you just listen to the tape. But it's always a great way to start and do self-discovery. And a lot of people do better with one-on-one, like with themselves work, doing self-work. Not everyone does great in a class. Not everyone does great with one-on-one. If you are a solo person, rock it out. Like, again, honor that. And if that's what you need, because I don't know of any other tapes that I would
recommend
this kind of work, but I obviously would trust mine once I get it up on the website. And again, it would be like a medium-sized meditation. It's not going to be super beefy, because I'm not there to manage the energy and to talk and interact with somebody. But yeah, it's if you do better with tapes, rock it out. That's absolutely fine.
Okay. Denise says hello. Barbie, you both have voices I could listen to all day. Very calming. Thank you, Barbie. Barbie's really coming out with the compliments today.
Yeah.
Someone said that I've had a couple people say that you're very calming. You make me feel like everything's okay. Hope, I love your hat, Lily. It suits you.
Thank you.
You always have good hats. I noticed you always have a hat on.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
I host the healer with the hat. And actually at events, if someone doesn't know my name, I have had people ask, where's the loud one with the hat? And I'm like, I'm good with that. It's like, if you don't know my name and you're just like, where's that loud one who always wears hats? That's me right here. And this hat was actually gotten at Maria Shaw in Midland at her site.
It looks like a Maria hat. I think, oh God, why am I blanking?
I know Gina has.
Mom has one. They're in black and maroon. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I think there are a few tan ones. And actually, this is totally, like, it just popped up because you mentioned the hat. MariaShaw.com is actually having a sale on stones and everything.
Oh, yeah.
And so check it out, MariaShaw.com. And there's going to be tons of discounts on the stones and stuff, because they're going to the big gem show this week.
Yes.
So, I mean, if you're searching for a bargain, search no further. And I mean, I obviously love the products and everything. So that is it popped into my head. So I'm just going to share.
Yeah. Mom's going to Tucson. And so she's loading things up. So I think she's making room for all of that. So she's got a huge gemstone set written on the website. I don't know if the hats are on the website, but I know she has them at the fairs. I think she'll have them in Minneapolis in May, and then in Michigan I don't know when her Michigan date is, but yeah. Okay. Patsy, two beautiful ladies. Thank you, Patsy.
Thank you.
If you have any questions for Lily, write them in the comments. Leela, that hat is awesome on you, Lily. Everyone loves the hat.
It's good.
So
I was very happy with it.
It's really cute. Okay, so lilyofthelight.com, that has if they want to work with you one-on-one in a session, that's on there as well. Yeah. And then any upcoming classes you have will be announced on there. Let me put if you guys want to follow Lily on Facebook or Instagram, it's at Lily of the Light for both of those. And then I'll put your website up here too, if anyone wants to take a class or do one-on-one work with you too. And then of course you'll have your meditations up of this month. Now we have the accountability factor, Lily. Now, like, you have to get the meditations up by April.
I do. And totally off topic, funny story. So I did my House of the Soul meditation first because it's my longest one. And so I was like, I'm going to knock out the longest one first. And so I sat there, I had the pro mic up, I did it. And then I went back and I was like, oh, I know it's good. But I went back and listened just to make sure. And I realized that I fidget a lot for an hour meditation and you can hear me moving. And so no. So I will have to redo them and like sit still because I am definitely a mover. And I realized at 8.5 minutes, I was like, you could hear me like shifting. And I was like, well, I don't think people really want to hear me moving constantly throughout a meditation. So I was like, great mic though for picking it up.
It must be a really good mic. You have a Yeti or you have something?
Yeah, I was like, whew, all right, so I'm glad that I learned that. So that's actually why they haven't been up quite yet, is I'm like, okay, gotta redo some so that I'm not moving in them.
So Lily's perfecting them for you. They will be done by 30 days. April 30th. Now you're really on the spot. April 30th, those meditations will be up on her website, so you can download them. And that is I know we're jumping around a lot. We talk business all the time. So, and I love that with spiritual entrepreneurs, we're talking about, our work, we're talking about marketing too. I love that we can jump around because it's all connected. But this, and I was talking about this through our pricing stuff, as an entrepreneur, not to talk, but having different levels of different ways that people can still get the information from you, can still get some small wins, right? Different levels of work, like the meditation, right? Something people can listen to on their own.
Yep.
Typically at a lower price point that may not be ready to make a bigger investment, or maybe a little bit intimidated. They're just not ready yet for whatever reason to do the one-on-one work, right? It's a way for them to build momentum and kind of step into it and get some small wins under the belt before they take a class, before they do the one-on-one work. So just as a quick tip for all entrepreneurs out there too, Lily's doing it. You know me, I have the things on my website too, where you've got different segments, right? You've got the one-on-one work, you have classes, you've got little digital products and services. You're still serving the people at all the different levels and all the different ways. So just as a side tip for entrepreneurs here too, it's a way for you to expand and evolve your business, reaching more people, increase your income, Lily, money, we're increasing our income, allowing more money to flow us in all the ways. It's a win, 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 win. So just a little marketing tip on the side there.
Absolutely. And I would like to just add, again, totally. I love the fact that we just keep going. We're going with the energy.
We're talking about past lives, and now we're on to marketing.
Yes. And one of my favorite videos like this that Jana has done, and I think everyone should check it out if you have not seen it, is the one about timing and days of the week. And I loved it because it talks about like Monday is the moon, Wednesday is great for Mercury and communication and all that stuff. And it was actually, so Jan and I are both Cancers. And so Mondays is a moon day, the moon rules Cancer. And so other people are like, oh, okay, so the Mondays. And I've never felt that way. Monday doesn't feel like the beginning of the week to me at all. And so I loved listening to that one because I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And it's actually changed my scheduling a little bit of what I do when. Like workouts are great on Thursday. So I'm looking at yoga classes for Thursday, and oh, it's great to like get your to-do lists done and work on your business and everything on Saturdays. And I'm like, oh yeah, that always felt really right to me. So I loved that was there. And it was just like, because like, something and it feels right. Because I didn't know why I was doing these things, but now knowing like, oh, it's a day, and energetically, I was like, that is nice to know. So check it out.
You feel good. Yes. Yeah. Mom and I did that. Was it last week? I can't remember what day. It's still in here in the group. I left it up for people to watch the replay in case you missed the live. But yes. And it's funny because everyone subscribes to this trend, this belief that Mondays are the dreaded Monday. And it's like, who came up with that rule? We all just agree to it because it's our culture, right? It's so interesting how internally you may not really feel that way. There's that disconnect. Like, I should hate Mondays, but I don't. And I think it comes back to you honoring yourself and kind of having that trust with yourself and recognizing that you don't have to go along with, with everyone else, right? And that's the beauty of entrepreneurship too. You don't have to follow that, that belief pattern that so many people follow, right? It's just something that's been passed with anything passed down through the generations, right? Yeah. And I think, when back in the day, the church was the center of our culture, right? Yeah. And then it became the corporation, right? When corporations started popping up, our lives revolved around the corporation, right? Yep. The whole 9 to 5 thing came from the banking hours, right? That's when you did business because that's when the bank was open, right? Yes. That was the rule. And now things have evolved so much where people are working from home, they have their own businesses, right? And it's not so rigid anymore. And I think people are starting to recognize, like, hey, I don't have to live for the weekends, right? Yep. Every day can be fun. I'm not following this belief pattern that so many people have. I'm not subscribing to that anymore. So it's comforting to know that, hey, I don't have to hate Mondays, Yeah.
And that what days are best for what things. Like, again, Tuesdays, Mars, working out and stuff. It was like, yeah, that does feel right. And I didn't realize that I always schedule all my virtual, like, psychic circles, past life channeling events and everything like that on Wednesday evenings. I have one event once a month and it's always on a Wednesday evening. And after I watched it, I'm like, and it said, oh, that's the best day to take a class and teach a class. I'm like, well, that's why. Because people have said, well, why do you always teach it on Wednesdays? I'm like, I couldn't imagine not teaching it on a Wednesday.
It felt good to you. It just felt right.
It's like, it's natural. It was like the natural energy just flows better on a Wednesday for me to teach a class.
Yep. And I scheduled my training session, my trainer on Thursday. So tomorrow. Rahini, silly question here. Do we always carry forward our good habits, traits to the next lives? Do we always carry forward our good habits? It's not silly question, by the way. No question is silly. The only stupid questions are the ones you don't ask, something like that.
It's not a silly question. Here's the thing. We all have so many past lives that do you take every single positive trait from every single life compounded? No, that would be low. Woo! But there are several. Like with Jana's, she took the grace, the elegance, the communication, poise. I've taken with charisma. And I actually have a really intense survival instinct from some of my past lives also, which I view as a great asset. So you take certain ones that like resonate with your soul or karmically you need to take with you, or the lesson that you haven't learned. It's a complex question. There could be several reasons why you took one trait and not another. But in general, no, you can't take all of them because people have had so many lives that it'd be very difficult to take every positive trait from everyone. But the ones that you do take, you just honor and you use them they're meant to help you. Use them to your advantage. Like if it's you're great at communicating, then use that in your life and your relationships or in your profession or whatever. Like you don't have to limit any of your positive attributes to one aspect of your life.
That's true. She also said it would be great for you to have the meditations at Maria's next convention in May at the Radisson Blu. Well, they're getting done by April 30th, so she'll have them ready, right?
Yes, and they will be virtual, so they will be on the website so that you can just download them and listen to them on your devices or anything like that. But yes, the next event, I think you might be there too, right, Jana?
I don't know if I'm going yet. I don't know if I can go. Mom's got me on the schedule TBA, but it's a 50-50 chance right now.
Up in the air. So the next Maria Shaw event is the 15th and 16th of May at the Radisson Blu, and I will be the healer there. I'll be doing Reiki and energy work and all that stuff. So come in for a 15-minute session for $40. Come in and check out the classes. I will be teaching a class on meditation techniques because everyone's mindfulness looks different. So you got to find your own style. thinking that everyone can meditate like a Tibetan monk is a myth that I really hope dies. Because people get so upset, they're like, I can't just sit in calm silence in a rock garden. I'm like, neither can I.
That's so true. Everyone's got their own method. Some people have to move. It's so funny. People think of meditation as just sitting there like this. Some people meditate when they're walking. Some people meditate when they're singing. You know, like a lot of rappers, they're rapping their rhymes. That's a part of meditation, right? They're repeating, right?
Do you want to know the weirdest thing I've ever heard?
Yeah, go ahead.
Washing dishes.
Yeah, yes.
That is, they have a dishwasher. They never use it. Blows my mind. But it's because that is how they meditate, zen out, mindfulness, completely one with the universe. Bam. It's doing dishes. And I'm like, I acknowledge and respect your authenticity for you. That's not me. I will use my dishwasher. I will. I'm like, but I love the fact that she found it and that she's like, yeah, this is how I meditate. And it is the weirdest one I have heard. And none of them are weird, but it's just weird to me because it's not mine. And that's fine. Like, as long as it works for you, rock it out.
Right. Layla says, yes, clean the sink. Yes, I've heard that. People cleaning because you zen out in the shower too. Some of the best ideas come in the shower or when you're driving. Sometimes when I'm driving, it's just like, I'm like, why can't this come when I'm sitting at my desk, right? So it's not about like sitting there for 2 hours, right? It's about quieting the mind, right? I use the dishwasher and clean the sink. Rohini said, looking forward to seeing you there. Of course, I always ask complex questions. Thank you for the explanation. No, that's okay. Okay.
We love complex questions though. Like all questions are welcome, but the complex ones always give people a deeper meaning and more to think about for themselves in their self-discovery. So there's nothing wrong with a complex question. I think you should honor that in yourself, that's what you want. You always want more self-discovery, and that's beautiful. Like always ask the complex questions.
Yeah, never stop apologizing, right? We're always so quick to say, "Oh, I'm sorry for this. I'm sorry, excuse me." Stop apologizing, right? And the questions, I always tell people, ask questions, get on. Because sometimes they'll say, well, I don't really know if that's a question. But once you start talking, the questions come out, we pull it out of you. And your question may help someone else who think of something that they didn't normally think of, right?
Yes.
So anytime you're taking a class or anything, don't be afraid to ask the question. I remember when I would sign up for classes or work with coaches and group programs, be on a Zoom call with 100 people, all over the world. It's a little nerve-wracking to get up on the screen and say, I have a question, and to talk, right?
Yep.
And I used to be really nervous, like, oh, I'm the newbie here. All these people are more advanced than me. They know more than me. I'm going to sound dumb. I'm not going to ask it right, or it's not really a question, things like that. And the way I got over that was I just had a lot of courage. I said, listen, I showed up for this class. Like I paid, at the time I paid for it. I'm like, I invested. I'm here spending my time, money, and energy. I'm going to get what I came for, right? And so you ask the question and get the answer, right? Receive the information. You take the information, do something with it. So never be afraid to ask a question. And also, all those 100 people on the Zoom call too feel the same way. A lot of them feel the same way. We're all here like learning together, I mean, no one's really sitting there going, oh, she's so stupid, and if they are, then that's, that's their own problem. Right. Yes. But for the most part, no one's going to punch you in the face, right? No one's going to be angry at you or think, negatively about you. Ask the question, get the information, get what you came for, and use it, right? Use it, put it into practice. Okay, Lily. We're at 2:06. I think unless you have something else, we'll end on that note. If you want to say any last words, or if there's anything that you want to leave people with, knowledge is potential power. So when you take a class, whether it's our classes or someone else's, implement at least one thing within that 24 hours. Otherwise, that information is pretty much useless, right? It's very theoretical. We want to put it into action so that it actually creates and produces real change in our life, right? So any advice you want to give to the people on here, any last minute things you want to say?
Well, actually, now that I do not remember who asked about the tapes and stuff, but if you guys want something like Jana said in the next 24 hours, I will post a video on my Facebook page, Lily of the Light, it'll be very short, but I'll do a past life meditation and walk you through it. So it'll be like the lunchbox version. It'll be smaller, but to get you guys to really get through it in the first 24 hours, absolutely. We'll do a little freebie. That's, I was thinking about how to send out a freebie, and I could not, technology was not with me for my CRM site. But that'll be your guys's freebie, a free meditation. I'll post it on my site, on my Facebook, and you guys just go watch, comment, have fun with it, and next 24 hours, embrace your past lives and everything that they have for you.
Perfect. See, there's always a way. Technology always works out. There's always a way.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good. All right. We'll end on that note. You are amazing women. Thank you for sharing your nuggets of wisdom with us today. Thank you. Thank you both from Barbie. Thank you guys for being on here, and thank you for asking your questions. And thank you, Lily, so much for spending your time and your energy and your knowledge with us. We really appreciate it. I think everyone in the group benefits from talks like this. And people watching the replay will too. So if you're watching the replay, just write #replay in the comments, and make sure you go over to Lily's Facebook page, her Instagram and her Facebook, Lily of the Light. And then her website is lilyofthelight.com. And she'll have her meditations up there this month. She also has upcoming classes. She'll be in Minneapolis at the convention there, May 15th and 16th at the beautiful Radisson Blu. She'll be doing one-on-one sessions there too. So if you're in Minnesota and you want to see her in person, that'll be a great event to go to. And just connect with her on Facebook and social media too. And so if you're beginning your journey into this whole past life thing and identifying things and releasing, she's going to be doing her free meditation on her or her social media. And then from there, if you want to work with her more, you can take one of her classes or work with her one-on-one. So Lily, I always say people are a little bit intimidated to work one-on-one, but you should not be intimidated by Lily. She's a Cancer girl. She's so warm and comforting and nurturing. So if you just want to dive in with the one-on-one work, go ahead.
Absolutely. And thank you so much, Jana, for having me and being open to doing something live for yourself for the past life thing, because that can scare a lot of people. So kudos to you. Courage, grace.
Oh yeah, thank you.
You got it all.
Elegance. Oh boy. Okay. Well, end on that note. Thank you guys so much for being here today. And I'll leave the replay up in the group so everyone can see it if you missed the live. But thank you, Lily. Appreciate it. And we'll talk to you guys soon.
Thank you guys. Have a good day.
Bye.